It's the final few seconds before the lights go out, and the race to the podium begins. You know this battle will be won off the track as well as on it. You've studied your tactics, anticipated every move like a grandmaster. You've researched and analyzed, modified and fine-tuned to perfection. You have honed your instincts to give you an edge over your rivals. Your drivers focused, your team ready. The championship in the balance. First past the checkered flag, the goal. Epic victory or ultimate failure. There is only a heartbeat between them. Motorsport manager, take control.
Let's try and really focus on getting the car as reliable as possible based on the parts that we're going to keep. So we probably need to build something this time round. So what are we going to design? Let's have a look. Where are we weakest? In terms of performance, we have really shit brakes, really shit acceleration, really shit everything. Okay, everything is just equally crap. So I think I'm going to start with the cheapest parts and work up, so we at least have something. What am I doing? So we at least have something that we can use. So the cheapest is the brakes. So from 9 to 34, that's a pretty big update to be fair, so let's make them first. Yes, confirm. So we're not going to do anything to the brakes on our car. And both our engines are full at the moment with 9 and 2, which kind of sucks, but still. So I wasn't reading the mail, so there was this one first. Eastwood Motorsport's drivers, he set the pace in practice. We don't care about that one actually. So, well, that really wasn't the ideal weekend from our point of view. 50 and 52 is pretty good for the first race. We're going to be working on the cars for a while. Here's the average amount of condition the cars lost over the weekend. Gomez lost 50%, Anthony lost 52. That's good. Usually in the first race it's like 69 and 75. So total time to fix 42. God, you guys suck. Once this work is complete, the mechanics will move back to their usual tasks, blah blah blah. Okay, so interview. Yes, I have time to answer questions. I always have time to answer questions. Andre Gomez was furious after the race, claiming that he let his tyres run down totally and that he was begging to make a final pit stop. Well, he's a fucking idiot, what can I say? So do I piss off Andre? Not a good idea. Do I piss off the chairman? Not a good idea. Do I piss off both? Terrible idea. So let's piss off the chairman, I guess. And say it was my fault. I mean, it was my fault, but he would have ended up in an even worse position if he pitted. So he's an idiot. So I've written a quick report on the performance of our pit crew. Total 4 pit stops. Our fastest pit stop time was 14.6 seconds. That's bloody terrible. This is the benchmark we'll attempt to beat. Good. In regards to the crew, we had a mistake-free weekend. Blah blah blah. Okay. Arbeloa won the race. Yeah, I saw that he won the race. Thank you. Thank you for that update on something I already knew. Appreciate it. So, no, he's actually happy with the result of Black Sea. So we're doing well with the chairman apparently. That's fine. I think pissing off the drivers is a really bad idea at the moment though. So I'm not going to do that. Though I should keep an eye on morale as things go forward, for the most part. I only have them for a year actually, so I will get to replace them next year regardless. So what do you get? Sweeter spots. The green sweeter spot in qualifying is bigger. Well, we don't have qualifying. That's useless. Quick fixes. That's useful though. Light-footed intermediate tiles, and moves the red zone from car condition. I might keep this guy actually, even though he kind of sucks. His bonuses are pretty good. So we'll leave that as it is for now. And we have these guys on a rolling contract, so I could actually replace them at any point, but they're not costing me too much money at the moment, so I think I'm going to keep them for a bit at least. Let's see if there's anybody useful to hire. No, you're not useful. You're not useful. None of them are useful. I don't want any of those guys. That's a shame. What's this guy? This guy's a rear jack, and the only replacement we have is a rear jack. That's not a good start. We really need to get this pit crew looking better. We do have one more sponsor spots. We got some more gold. We got some more gold. We got some more money coming in potentially at some point. Let's get these cars fixed. Good. Car repair finished. Fantastic. Right, so what are we improving then? You can stop that, I guess. Let's improve the gearbox, because it's pretty low. And let's improve the suspension, because it's pretty low. So we maxed out the engines. We're going to replace the brakes anyway, so I don't care so much about the brakes. We're going to replace this brake specifically first, but I want to replace both. I guess we could do with improving the gearboxes, probably. Or the suspension. No, we'll do the gearboxes first. I'll finish 6 days before. Okay, let's give it a little bit more time to the reliability then. 2 days before, that's good. So we'll get a pretty good reliability on this gearbox and this suspension. Yeah. I can't come up with some interesting conversation. That's okay, you don't have to. I was actually thinking about talking about something completely crazy, but I don't really see the point. But I had some. I was thinking about some crazy things yesterday. So if I run out of things to say myself, then maybe I'll switch to that, and then you guys can understand that I'm completely crazy. So those brakes are much better, but we need them to be much more reliable. So I'll actually drop that, and we'll work on the reliability of these brakes. Because if the reliability gets pretty good, I may actually use it for this race. Though we're going to be improving the performance after the next race anyway, so it's not a huge deal. And we got one more sponsor, so let's have a look. I heard crazy. Yeah, maybe. So 9 races of 350. That's almost 3 million. I mean, that's much better than 1 million. So, all right then. That's not almost 3 million. That's over 3 million. It's 3.2 million. I can't maths apparently. Yeah, okay, I'll bring up the topic. Why not? I've been having a lot of conversations recently with people who fundamentally misunderstand certain things, and it frustrates the hell out of me. So it's not politics related, so don't worry about that. I avoid politics. Actually, I have obviously opinions about politics, but I don't like talking about it in stream. Two things I basically avoid are my personal life as much as possible and politics. So don't worry about that. But there is one thing that people fundamentally misunderstand, and it really drives me insane. And it's something that most people don't think about, and it's related to two different things actually. So, do either of you guys know about Coco the gorilla? Does that mean anything to you? We'll start with that. And if so, this will probably be interesting to you. If not, then it's going to be something completely foreign to you probably. But if you know, if the name Coco the gorilla means something to you, it might help a little bit. No idea. Yeah, that's fine. Probably no idea. Okay, so Coco the gorilla is a gorilla that was taught sign language, basically, and she was able to communicate some concepts using American Sign Language, but obviously with the Coco the gorilla learned how to sign, exactly. So basically she learned how to communicate some basic ideas, but of course there's a lot of interpretation involved based on the researchers who worked with her, and some of the methods were not particularly ethical, but let's ignore that. It's not important to the conversation. So there's an ethics question that I'm not really that interested in. It's not important. What I am interested in though is how people completely misunderstand the concept of learning American Sign Language. So the stupid question that people tend to ask is, wait, are you saying that Coco can speak English? And of course the answer to that is no, you fucking idiot. But the thing that frustrates me basically is whenever we talk about things like animal intelligence, we always measure animal intelligence against human intelligence. So you'll hear something like a fully grown dog is as intelligent as a 4-year-old human, or you know, the Coco the gorilla can speak to a level of a elementary language speaker, and this simply isn't true. And explaining it this way shows a fundamental misunderstanding of what these intelligences and this language ability means. So there's a relatively famous moment before Coco died, because Coco is dead now, may she rest in peace. She gave a speech basically that seemed to be related to the way that she viewed humans' interactions with nature. And you can read it one of two ways. You can actually try to understand what she's trying to communicate, or you can say, but nothing that she said makes sense, and you don't fill in the gaps. And I actually of the belief that she did communicate her ideas, but in a very, very rudimentary way. And the main benefit of teaching her sign language is that she can do this. So she can communicate her very complicated ideas, probably in her head, in a way that we can kind of understand. But it does require interpretation, and there's no getting around that. So for example, Coco knows the word tree, Coco knows the word break, Coco knows the word, I don't know, banana. She knows words, basically. And if you imagine that you have something like 1,000 words and you're trying to communicate a very complicated topic in a different language, you're not gonna say something like in a conditional sentence. You're gonna say something in a very broken way. So you're gonna go to caveman speak, like me here, you there, go, church that way, you know. And somebody can say, that's not English, I don't understand, or somebody can fill in the gaps and understand what you're trying to say. And the thing that frustrates me when I talk about these kind of topics is whenever somebody says a human is the most intelligent creature on the planet. We're definitely the most dominant, and we definitely are the most aggressive, but we measure intelligence in a really stupid way, because we measure animal intelligence against human intelligence. And that's the crazy thing that I decided to talk about but not talk about at the same time, basically. And I don't really want to go deeper into it at the moment, but maybe I'll change my mind as we go on. So, Bag's gonna retire, don't care. Race in Munich, don't care. Scouting reports, do care. Olga. Olga is a pretty good driver, so we'll keep her in mind as well for the future. The problem with good drivers is they're expensive, of course. But anyway, there's a topic you can have a jump off in chat if you want to. So, Telemetry Center we can't afford, so forget that. Beach Champ retiring, I doubt it. Pre-gossip Munich. Konstantin Ivanov. Ivanov, sorry. He's pretty crap. He's got good marketability though. Okay. He's actually got really good marketability. We'll actually keep him in the back pocket because he won't be so expensive. We can have him as a third driver who's a Russian, so we'll keep that in mind. I know a lot of humans less intelligent than most monkeys. Yeah. Well, to be honest, when we talk about monkeys and apes, maybe we can measure intelligence in the same way because we're very closely related. But I don't want to get into religion either. If anybody's religious and you believe in young Earth creationism, good for you. I'm not going to argue with you about it. But you know, we're very closely related to apes in general, and monkeys to a lesser extent, but the same. So maybe it does make some sense to measure intelligence of apes to other apes. But when we're measuring a dog to a human or a pig to a human or something like this, I find it really, really ridiculous. Right, performance work is done. Good. Right, let's make these brakes better. That's going to be our first job, I think. And we'll go back to 5 and 5. And I should make a second set of brakes as well when I think about it, so let's do that too. Do the same thing, the deceleration way up, and crap, we need a red. I'm going to make 3 sets of brakes, I guess. The 2 that we can actually use without any risk. Actually, no, it's not a... No, there's no risk here. Okay, so build time plus 5 days, deceleration 40 plus to max, reliability 30, deceleration minus 10, reliability plus 50, red zone 35. No, we can repair it, so it's not a huge deal. We'll go with that. That's actually really good. Okay. I mean, yeah, since we're the most dominant beings, first they get arrogant, so we start comparing our intelligence to other beings, but that is just stupid. It's not just stupid, it's, it is... I fully understand why people do it. It's much easier to... Let me give you another example that maybe helps. You guys know that I speak Russian, and in Russian there are 2 different words for the color blue. Now, abstractly, I understand what Goloboy and what Sini mean. I understand abstractly the difference between the 2 languages, but because of my brain and growing up with blue always being blue, I can never fully comprehend the difference between these 2 concepts. I think white really is related to 2 languages, 2 words for blue. Yes, it's really true. So these 2 colors are completely different. It's like saying blue and purple in English, for example. Sini and Goloboy follow the same kind of category, so they're completely different colors. And like I say, abstractly I can understand this, but I'm never going to be able to categorize Sini and Goloboy in the same way that a Russian will, because they're both blue in my brain, if that makes sense. And in that case we're talking about 2 human beings who have mostly pretty similar life experiences, and we see things in roughly the same way. We have a lot more in common than we don't have in common, basically. So when we start abstracting this towards another species completely, so to a gorilla, to a dog, to a chimpanzee, to a pig, these gaps where these abstract ideas change are going to be much, much wider. So we just simply can't understand how a gorilla can see the world, basically. It's impossible to understand. The best we can do is give them the tools to communicate as best they can these ideas to us. So what the researchers were trying to do was that, essentially. They were trying to give the gorilla the tools to communicate their inner thoughts. And if you look at it that way, it's interesting. But if you look at it as Coco learnt English, quite frankly, you're a moron. And it's quite difficult to have a conversation about it with that kind of person. So basically, this fundamental misunderstanding of how something linguistically, I'm interested in this. Obviously, the fundamental misunderstanding is very difficult to get across to somebody who refuses to understand, or doesn't want to understand, or whatever it is. All right, send you guys out. Maybe this is more political than I thought. I don't think it's political. I'm gonna stick with it's not political. It's linguistic to me, so you know. It's kind of feeling better about ourselves. Other than that, I can't think of other reasons. It's not even about feeling better about yourself. It's more about keeping everything that you perceive in the world within your own understanding of the world. I mean, it's very difficult to... I'm going to speed this up. It's very difficult to conceptualize something that's outside of our understanding. And a gorilla speaking English is much easier to conceptualize than somebody abstracting very complicated ideas in a language that we understand. These are 2 fundamentally different things. One is very easy to understand, one is pretty difficult to get your head around. And that's why people say things like, you know, they speak English like an elementary learner, or they speak English like a 2-year-old or whatever. And it's just, it's not a usable measurement, unfortunately. It's completely useless. Coco didn't learn English, she learned how to translate her own thoughts into a language humans can understand a bit. Exactly. So she was given tools to conceptualize the things that were in her head in a way that we understand. So if you imagine, if you have a pet in the home, if you have a cat or a dog, etc. I can talk about my cat. So I understand when my cat is happy, I understand when my cat is angry, I understand when my cat is sick, etc. But I don't understand what the cat is saying when it makes sound. And I can't understand what the cat is saying. Even if I learnt cat, I still wouldn't be able to fully grasp what the cat was was saying or doing, or seeing even, because we have a completely different worldview. And we have completely different priorities, which is a very big issue as well. So, speaking of cats as well, Coco also had a pet cat, and it actually managed to look after the cat. And I remember a really sad news story actually, because the cat died in an accident, and the news stories decided to blame the gorilla for it, and it wasn't the gorilla's fault actually, and this has been well documented. The same with when Coco had children, because she had children. She didn't fully understand why the children had to be taken away from her, and it was another conversation that was well documented. And I think the researchers learned quite a lot from human-animal interrelations from this experiment, basically. And I don't know. It's kind of frustrating. I saw a video about it a couple of months ago, basically, and I remembered about it yesterday because I was debating someone who was trying to tell me that Coco didn't speak English, even though I never made that claim. So that's why I was thinking about it, because I understand that Coco didn't speak English. It's a stupid thing to say. There's no point even mentioning it. Where it maybe gets more interesting, though, I'll add this extra caveat to it, because I like to think about this as well. Obviously, a lot of people like to say that there's definitely alien species out there, etc. And there's a good chance that there are, and we even have researchers looking specifically for aliens. The problem is, though, we're looking for aliens by using human standards to find them, and expecting them to be somewhat humanoid, or at least something that we understand from Earth. For example, an alien can be... Yeah, I'll go with that analogy. An alien can simply be a cloud of gas, for example, with a life force, essentially, and we'd have no way of detecting it. So there's a good chance that we've actually already met aliens, but we just have no way of understanding what they are. And therefore we of course have no way of communicating. And it follows the same kind of logic as the trying to understand animal communication. So there we go, there's the crazy. Was that crazy enough? Munich. I gotta think about what I'm doing with this now. Yeah, I'm good with that. I'm good with that. And I think I'm good with that. Can we get 13th in this race? I don't think we can, to be fair. I really don't think we can. Probably not. That was actually just a normal conversation. If you say so. You'd be surprised how few people are willing to engage with something they don't comprehend. Oh, I need to turn the light on. 1 second. Because if I don't turn the lights on, you'd start attacking the light from my mouse on the wall. Maybe we don't have the same understanding of the word crazy. Well, the word crazy is hyperbolic anyway, of course. But it's not really something that most people bring up in conversation, was more my point. I like to abstract ideas, though, and one of the biggest disappointments, especially when I'm teaching young people, but it happens when I'm teaching older people as well, is very few people are good at understanding how to abstract their ideas. So I can give you an example. It's not a language thing. It's a way people think thing. When you ask somebody what their interests are, for example, they will tell you that they like X thing or they like Y thing. And my usual follow-up question is, why do you like it? Because I want to go deeper into the topic. And they'll say something like, I like it because it's interesting. And of course my logical next step is, okay, but why is it interesting? And they'll say something like, because it's fun. And we keep going around in circles like this because I'm trying to get to something deeper. And very few people are actually good at doing this, unfortunately, or dealing in hypotheticals, for example, or abstracting ideas in general. It's a skill that you should really learn how to do in school, and that you're not taught it. And obviously, if you don't know how to do it when you're young, you don't know how to do it when you're old. So you meet people who are in their 30s, 40s, and they still have this very, very basic understanding of everything. If they're happy in life, then great, but it means they're not particularly interesting for me when we're talking, unfortunately. That's why when I meet somebody, I don't tend to ask them what their interests are. I tend to ask them what they're passionate about, because it usually leads to a more interesting conversation. Hey, go Anthony, taking third straight away. We won't hold on to third and fifth, don't worry, but we'll do our best to make some, I don't know, hold on to something. Same kind of strategy. We're going to try and outlive the other cars mostly. People are afraid of the unknown and mostly like to stay in a bubble. Yeah, that's true. I think it goes deeper than that, though. People aren't encouraged to think about what they believe, what they think, what they like. There's no encouragement for these kind of. I'm going to stick with the word abstract. There's no encouragement for these abstractions, and it's really a shame. And I find it kind of frustrating when I have to go through this fairly basic thing in life with every student when I first meet them, no matter how old they are. I teach students of all ages, by the way. I start off pretty old, actually. I don't like to teach people under 13, and I have students that are really quite old. The oldest student I had was a lady in the Czech Republic. I taught her until she was 96, and she was one of my favorite students. Actually, she was very interesting, and we had lots of very complicated conversations. It was very good teaching her. And she just decided to learn English because her granddaughter married an American, and she wants to understand him better. So, you know, that was yeah. I won't say her name, but she was a very interesting lady, and she had a lot of interesting things to say all the time. 96, damn, yeah. She was very young at heart as well, and she was very healthy for her age. You wouldn't think she was 96 talking to her. I don't know what that means, to be honest, but I mean, she didn't have any obvious health problems. Her mind was still completely what's a nice word? Her mind was still completely fine. Let's just say that. And yeah, she was no different than a lot of the other students I taught. The only main difference was that obviously she had a lot more experience in life. Because that's what happens as you get older. You get more experience. You're not necessarily more intelligent if you're older than somebody else, but you do have more experience than you did when you were younger. And it usually stacks up that, I don't know, the older somebody is, the more experience they have, generally speaking. That's sweet. Most people at 96 refuse to try new things. I'm not sure if that's true, but yeah, you can meet. Well, 96 is a complicated age. There can be a lot of problems at that age as well. I mean, I'm not going to live that long, so I can't even imagine being that age. But you know, there are. When I think about my granddad, for example, who is in his 80s, you know, unfortunately his mind is completely gone, and his body gave up on him 20 years ago. So he kept his mind for a long time, but at this stage he's lost both, unfortunately. So, you know, yeah, talking to a completely lucid and very conscientious and incredibly intelligent 96-year-old was very interesting, for the most part. She was a nice lady. And to be honest, I have no idea. I haven't spoken to her in many years, so I mean, I don't even know what she's like now, if she's even still with us, because obviously last time I spoke to her was 8 years ago. So if she is still with us, then great, but you know, that's a really long life if so. It's very easy to misunderstand somebody who's older as well. I always remember I actually will say his name because he has passed on, and he was a great man. Stanley Richards was somebody from the street where I used to live, and he was a general in World War II, and he was vastly misunderstood by the other kids on our street, because when I was a kid I didn't fully understand him either. I always respected him, but I never fully understood him. But when I look back at some of the things that he did in retrospect, and some of the ways that he talked about things in retrospect, I fully understand him. And I actually respect him even more than I did when I was a kid, because I have the understanding behind it as well. And give you an example, our street was really quite small. You don't get that concept when you're a kid, because it looks pretty big to you, but when you go back to it as an adult, you realize you can't even turn a car around in it. And for the safety of the kids, he actually put up a no ball game sign on this small patch of grass that we had at the top of the street. And obviously us smart-ass kids used to say, but we're not playing ball games on the grass. And the sign was intended for the entire street, because that's just, from an adult's perspective, there isn't enough space to play with a ball. You know, you're going to break a car, you're going to break a window, you're going to break somebody's garden, whatever. Pretty clear. But when we're kids, we're smart-asses, so, you know, that used to be the thing. And he was actually always willing to engage with this and try to help you to understand, but a kid's brain can't really go there, unfortunately. When I say kid, I mean like 8, 9 years old now. I don't mean like a teenager. Teenager can engage, but a really young person, not so much. Well, we didn't last long in 3rd and 5th, did we? So, I actually went back to the street where I grew up a few years ago, and I wanted to see Mr. Richards, obviously. And unfortunately, he'd already died by that point. So I spent some time with his wife, and because I liked his wife as well, she was also lovely. And yeah, we just spent some time reminiscing about Mr. Richards, because he was kind of like the scary old man whose house you avoid situation for kids. But I never saw him that way. I actually always liked him, and I always tried to speak to him. But if you were somebody who refused to engage with him, he would get quite angry, and you know, he'd fight with you instead of trying to explain something. But I was more interested in trying to understand him, so we got on pretty well. And that kind of leads around to everything together. I spend a lot of time trying to understand things I don't understand. It's an interest of mine, and I've had it since I was a kid. It may even be because of Mr. Richards that I have it. It wouldn't be too surprising. Then my dad as well. My dad has also always pushed me to think deeper about everything. So yeah, these two people probably. That's why I think the way I do. Okay, back to racing and sucking. And the tyre degradation isn't really going in our favour this race, which is a shame. But we're looking like we're going to be dry, so we're going to try and do the same thing. Lap probably 9 and 10, we're going to try and pit, for the hope to make up the time at the end in the same way. Though we do have 9 pretty high up. Tang is one of our opponents. So it's basically Tang, Mello, Cavalcanti, Chu. Where's Rogers? What, really? Okay. That's not Mello and Chu, sorry. It's Rogers and El Sadat and the yellow team, Dreyfus and Marchetta. They're the ones that we're fighting with. Have you seen the Twitter image of a racing fan calling himself a racist? Yeah, no, but I know exactly who you're talking about, because I saw him talking to somebody who I actually watch sometimes, but that's getting into politics. Somebody who I watch quite often, actually, because I like the way that he thinks. And he was asked the question. He was asked the question kind of as a meme to admit that he's a racist because he wants to buy a nice car. And the person obviously asked it with no context. Just told him, "Can you just admit that you're a racist?" And the guy was actually willing to engage with that concept because he likes to engage with crazy ideas. But then it turned out to be the meme, so I know exactly who you're talking about, actually. But no, I haven't seen the specific Twitter. My Romanian teacher likes to get into psychological topics and likes to think logically. Well, I mean, we all think logically, because that's what thinking is based on. But yeah, we can think with flawed logic for certain. Me personally, I like to test my logic whenever I can, so I like to test even very basic claims that I understand, and I try to understand why I understand them, which makes me very skeptical in general of basically everything. But I think in the long run it helps with understanding in conversations. Well, you're staying behind Anthony, she's a teammate, come on. It means that I can usually sympathize with somebody on the other side of a argument, for example, or a discussion, whatever, and it also means that I'm willing to, well, engage in whatever layer of something that somebody wants to talk about, which is really annoying for some people, and is quite interesting for others. So it depends on the way that you interact with topics, I think. The royal you, not you personally, but you as a plural. That's true, actually. We can put a bit more heat on the tyres because they've both gone cold, which is pretty stupid. That was a mistake on my part. I should really push at the start. I usually do, but I'm afraid of basically the cars churning through things too quickly, because I'm more interested in surviving the laps than trying to actually race, you know? Because I don't have the cars to race. Once she got into a topic where she said that a 2-year-old child is more clever than a grown-up. I'd need context to go into that deeply, but yeah, I think I can understand the angle that she's coming from with that. That's poorly worded, if that's the way she worded it, but I can understand the concept. Well, with the 96-year-old student in mind, one of the most frustrating things I always hear is that children learn languages better than adults. That isn't true. The main difference is that children don't really realize that they're learning because they're engaging in something that they enjoy and picking up language at the same time. And when adults learn language in the same way, we're also really good at learning languages. So a human brain is actually really adaptive, and it's very good at picking up patterns, especially subconsciously. So for example, if I was playing this game in Finnish instead of English, I'd probably start picking up some Finnish. I wouldn't pick up too much of it, but when I see the same things over and over again, I mean, I know where the pit button is, so I'd learn the word pit for certain. I know where the condition button is from muscle memory, basically. I'd start to learn these words, essentially, or at least the concepts in the game. Oops. That's good. We took over Valdez. The Valdez has a much stronger car than we do, so we're not going to hold that position for long. So yeah, this misunderstanding of a child can pick up a language better than an adult. As adults, we actually have the tools to do it even better. The problem is that as adults, we don't. Generally speaking. I mean, I like languages personally, but if you're not somebody who's particularly interested in learning languages, then it kind of feels like you don't have the tools to do so. And you kind of wish you were a kid again, but kids go through the same problems. They just overcome it because they don't have so much well, it comes down to abstracts again, basically. They don't think about it in in the same kind of way as we think about it, basically. Do I want medium tires? I probably don't. No, I think I'm good with the 9 to 11 laps. I just need to make sure that we... Fine. I just need to make sure that we don't push the tires too hard, basically. So we'll give Gomez one more lap. Let me actually... Yeah, I'll give both of them a running in and running out lap with pushing entire. Let's pick Gomez as well then. Quite enjoying testing my mental muscles instead of dealing with my shoulder muscle, to be fair, so this is helping a bit with the pain. Just a bit though. Psychology is a double-edged sword as well, because a lot of people try to talk about it when they don't understand it. They have like they've had like 2 or 3 introductions to certain concepts, but they haven't looked deeper. So a lot of people know about Milgram, for example, but they don't really know how to articulate what he studied. Or a lot of people know about well, a lot of people know about Freud or Jung, but they don't know the more complicated sides of their research, and they don't know about the arguments against their research and all this kind of stuff. Jung especially, actually. Jung is a really important psychologist, but at the same time he's sometimes overquoted, and some of the things that he ended up backing off on are still quoted as fact. I know that's not what you meant by psychological, but it's just I don't know, my mind's making a lot of links at the moment. Okay, let's pit Gomez. Probably gonna finish. We may even finish at the back here. No, we may. No, we're finishing at the back probably. Alright, so we'll keep an eye on Anthony again, who's finished her lap actually, so let's slow her down a bit. And she has pretty good heat in the tyres. Woo, 19th and 20th with Anthony in front. And a few more laps to go. Just a few more. Oh, some people are losing time though, good. That's a run through pit, is it? I guess. Wait, why? Why would they go through the pit without taking tyres? No. Without taking fuel, sorry. No, that's gotta be something else. Or whatever, they've been docked some time for some reason, so that might help us a little bit, but it needs to be a lot of seconds to really help us. No, it is Rogers and El Sadat, so maybe not. Yeah, we might be good. We might be good. Lots of people pitting, but I don't think we're going to catch them, to be honest. We might catch a couple, but we won't catch the whole crowd, that's for certain. Which is a shame. So going back to a 2-year-old being more clever than a grown-up. I mean, theoretically, somebody younger can be considerably more intelligent than a grown-up, because it basically depends on the experience the grown-up has had. On average, somebody who's older is probably going to have more experience of certain things and probably going to understand things a little bit better, but if you're dealing with somebody who's in their early 20s, for example, and you know, they've already done a lot of jobs, they've already been all over the world, etc., then they're going to probably have more experience and knowledge than somebody who's in their 40s and they've spent their whole life on benefits. It's just the way it works. But it's always going to depend on the topic they're talking about, or the topic they're engaging in. Ming skills are limited when we start talking about deeper and more impactful topics, so I understand what they're talking about, but can't get into it, so I just stay silent. Yeah, I kind of have the same problem in Russian when I'm in a group of friends, for example, and they're talking about something a bit more complicated, but I do try to at least... Well, sometimes I just try to joke, because that's all I can do. And sometimes I do try to at least engage with something that was said and take it back if necessary. One of the biggest problems that I have in a group of Russians is that we can be talking about we can be talking about vaccines, for example. That's a big topic at the moment, and I mostly keep up with the conversation, and my ability to speak on this topic is fairly limited. Is a very kind way of saying it, but I can at least say certain things. So I try to at least present those ideas with the limited language that I have. And your English is better than my Russian. Well, sometimes it's just nice to point out that I do understand, so I just go back and say, we're talking about this, yeah? And it can kind of give you time to... I tend to find when people realize that you understand what they're talking about, they're more willing to be patient and let you kind of talk around a point. But it can obviously be difficult if you are struggling with making sense of your ideas. Or in the worst case scenario, somebody doesn't want to understand you. That can always be a problem. I've had many conversations like this as well, where someone's tried to engage on something really complicated, but they don't actually have the patience to understand what I'm trying to say. And when I think about some of my work history as well, in my really early work history, when I worked in the shops, for example, I used to have a situation where somebody would say, "Hey, AD, there's this guy, he's speaking French, I don't understand him," and I mean, I spoke French, but my French wasn't great, and I'd go and talk to this person, and they'd be Polish or something. And it's like, they're not French, and their English is perfectly understandable. What's the problem? You know, they don't say something perfectly, but you know, you can. It's all about filling in the gaps again. You can very simply interpret what they're saying based on the context in which they're speaking. But some people just refuse to. I think people are actually afraid that they're going to misunderstand, and because they're so desperate to try and understand, they don't understand anything. Because it's kind of a panic response that some people have. I notice it in Russian as well. But yes, the casino was really bad for that as well, because I used to work in a casino too, and there'd be somebody who didn't speak English very well, and whenever somebody would say, "Oh, they're from a different country, I can't hear," and you'd say, "Where are they from?" And the answer would always be French. Or Polish, actually, one of the two, and they could be somewhere completely different, like a Latvian, for example. That was actually one of the weirdest ones, when somebody said, "Yeah, they're French," and the person was, I think they were from Lithuania, actually, but they were from either Lithuania or Latvia. And again, their English was perfectly understandable. But I guess I have different, I think I have different ways of looking at language to a lot of people. I'm more interested in being understood than being correct in language. As a teacher as well, I focus more on being able to communicate your ideas abstractly, at least, as opposed to being completely correct, because when you focus too much on being completely correct, you completely lose fluency. And it can be a really big problem with students that have had grammar drilled into them, for example, but they don't actually understand. No, let's reword that. So if you ask them, for example, what's the past tense of this verb, they'll tell you immediately. So you'll say, what's the past tense of take? It was took. Okay, what's the past tense of cut? Oh, it's cut. Okay, great. How was your day? Silence. You know, and it's a really big flaw in the education system for the most part. And it would be much better if we could at least understand how to communicate something so it's understandable, as opposed to first of all trying to make something completely correct. So whenever I'm personally teaching, I try to be as conversational as possible and help the person through a complicated idea, essentially. And if they're a high-level student, then I try to push them on things that they've almost definitely never spoken about. So one of my top-level students, for example, our last lesson we were talking about his favorite flowers. And his English is really good, but he doesn't have the vocabulary for this conversation. So, you know, he had to describe a lot of flowers, and he had to, well, even come up with ideas, because he doesn't really care about flowers, and nor do I. So, you know, it made for a complicated but interesting puzzle of a conversation, basically. Alright, we've got a few laps left, so we need to pit around 19 and 20 or 20 and 21 with the hope of getting around 15th again. And obviously, of course, hopefully somebody crashes again, because that always helps. As long as they're not our drivers that are crashing. I actually need a bit more heat in Anthony's tyres, so let's let it push a bit. Just a bit though, because we really have bad tyre degradation at this point. And I think this map is laggy because of all the trees, because trees are horrible for graphics for the most part. Even really basic trees like this, because they're all individual sprites, they can cause real big issues with graphics fidelity. So I think that's why this map is particularly laggy, because we're dealing with trees. There's probably enough heat, we can get back off the push. I'm thinking I probably should have gone for one of the other two series, maybe either the GT series or the Endurance series, because I haven't really played those versions of this game. I've mostly played the F1 version, but we'll start off with the F1. We'll see if it takes us too long to grow and actually become competitive, then maybe we'll switch to one of the other driving types in the future. But I'm probably going to keep playing this on Tuesday, because I don't know, I quite like this game, and we can fill the gap with other topics if we need to, so it's supposed to be relaxing, and it is, and I think this is more interesting than watching me build something, to be honest, because the building games I'd go for would be something like SimCity, and I suppose I could make that interesting, but I don't know. Yeah, most of the trees, but the small things around the map do a heavy blow as well. Yeah, it's true, there's a lot of little details on this map. I may actually be able to turn some more things off. Let's see if I can help it a bit. Probably get rid of that actually, and I don't know what tilt shift does, but let's get rid of that, and we can actually get rid of all of the post-processing. It may help a little bit. Visual effects, crowds, I think that's fine. We'll keep that on as well for now. What does this do? Toggle 2D decals such as ground markings. No, I think that's fine. Dynamic lighting I guess is fine as well. Yeah, I've turned off most of the things that should be causing problems, to be fair. So I don't know. We'll see if that helps now that I've turned off the other post-processing things. Because the post-processing is probably what's causing the problem. It's how I killed the graphics card in the first place, I think, because I've done a lot of rendering 3D artwork, and some of it has been quite heavy. And when it's working off the GPU, it usually works out, but if it's chugging on the CPU, it can cause all kinds of issues. And I think it had a long-term effect, and yeah, basically I fried the graphics card over the last couple of years rendering my demons and things. Yeah, your tyres are fairly worn. Now we'll go one more lap, then I'll let you in. Actually, I will let you in after this lap, because that's lap 19. You'll have 11 left. Let's have a look. Yeah, 11. No, you need one more. What's full actually? Full is 12. No, we need you need to survive one more lap, I'm afraid. So you can conserve actually. Fuel is fine. You can actually burn through fuel pretty quickly now, but just keep the tires alive. And let's try and conserve these tires a bit as well, actually, just so we can survive 2 laps, because he's got to survive 2. And to be fair, everybody's in the same boat, so I've noticed the main thing with this game, especially if you're a weaker team, is if you pit later, you've got a better chance of making up time. basically. Unless you're a car that can make really good time on the track itself, which our team cannot, so we have to rely on late pitting. Oh god, this has gotten really bad now. It's actually gotten worse. Interesting. Maybe I can close something in the background actually when I think about it as well, because I have I'm lurking in Shay's stream. I should probably close that. I will do that quickly. Let's just try and give this a little bit of. Let's try and give this a little bit of help. So close that, close that, and close that, and we can close that, and hopefully it'll be a little bit smoother. I do try to support friends when they're live when I'm live, but it causes problems in the stream itself, so I should probably stop doing that, to be fair. Until at least I replace this junk. I said one more lap, didn't I? Yeah, so we're just coming in after this one. Alright. Fill up. How's the car looking actually? Our gearbox. We really need to work on the reliability of the gearboxes, I think. Though I do want to replace them as well. That's why I'm refusing to do it. And yeah, it kind of looks like the computer is struggling in general, to be honest. So I don't know. Maybe something opened in the background that I didn't notice. Oh no, bizz. I don't want bizz. Trunk is live. Good for Trunk. Oh, did I shout out Dead Shores? I did, didn't I? Yes, I did. Wow. We're actually doing okay. We've held on to 16 and 18 for most of the game, which is a bit surprising. But the really high speed doesn't help so much on this map because there's a lot of cornering. Though to be honest, the worst thing about the development on these cars is even when you build a part that looks good for your car, it's still really bad compared to the competition. So I don't know. We got to spend quite a lot of money in general on improving the car, and we don't have the money to spend. So it's a difficult situation. And yeah, I guess something's open in the background. Hang on. Let me have a look, because something is causing problems and I don't know what it is. I'll close this as well, actually. That is causing problems. Close that. There we go. That should fix everything. It might not, but you know, we can hope. I'm going to pick up some spots with Gomez here, probably. So let's switch to Gomez because he's pitting after this lap. Got up to 14th with. Well, I'm more interested in where Anthony comes out in this pit order, basically. It looks like she's going to come out last, which really sucks. But okay. If she comes out in front of a couple, we're probably good. Our pit time is too slow. That's our biggest problem at the moment, actually. If we can increase the pit time, we have a small chance. But yeah, she's come out in 20th. It's just a disaster. And now she's been lapped. Well, it was going well. I suppose we never focused on. We were never focused on getting first, to be fair. So actually, no, we can spend a couple of laps going with full pressure, and so can you now, actually. And same thing again. We'll go for a big attack on the last round. Oh, we're not going to stay lapped at least. So there's still all these guys who've got to pit, so hopefully we can make up a couple of positions. 30 seconds behind this group though. Not looking good. I don't think Andre is going to come out any faster, to be honest. So, yeah, we're going to lose to... And yeah, Chu is already out. Well, 16 seconds and there was a mistake on the rear jack. Ah, that's our first mistake at least. But yeah, we really need to replace this pit crew. The problem with the pit crew is though that they're also expensive. So it's money that we can't really afford to spend, and she's been going one lap like this, so we'll give her one more. We'll give her one more lap on high pressure, and we'll let Gomez have his 2 laps as well. So by lap 23, Anthony drops down. By lap 24, Gomez drops down. Alright then. Everything is expensive. Yeah, that's true. That's definitely true. Our sponsor deals are kind of good though. They're kind of keeping us afloat, and we've got to focus mostly on... In the first season, we've got to focus mostly on improving the car. Gearbox issues. And also gearbox issues. 30%, 28%. Oh dear. Alright. Well. You can drop to a more... You can drop to a safe way of driving, at least, so hopefully the gearbox doesn't give out. Oh, we actually took a spot. I missed that. We took over El Sadat at least. God, first place is already chasing us. That's really bad. There's not too much pitting left to do, though. Well, the main guys have got to pit, but I don't know. I don't think we're gonna get much of a result out of this, to be fair. Anthony's tires are already fucked. Ah. Alright, let's slow Gomez down as well. He hasn't done the full 2 laps, but need to preserve the car. It's not really until it's not really until we get something. Hey, someone crashed. Okay. Well, we got up 1 spot. One of the top drivers crashed as well. Sucks to be them. Anthony picked up another spot as well, even before they take over the crash, so that's good. We got into 16th. Well, are we going to get any higher than 16th? Probably not, we're too far behind. But maybe we're okay with 16th? Probably. We're going to push in the last 4 laps on this map because the engine is not such a big deal, and overall they've been doing okay in terms of keeping their position in general. So yeah, we're gonna do some pushing in the last couple of laps here. There's going to be quite a lot of pushing from Anthony, and hopefully should be okay. And I'll start Gomez 1 lap behind, just because his car's in slightly worse condition than Anthony's. Yeah, we're not catching 8. Everybody's pitted now, yeah? Yeah, everybody's pitted now. So, not much is likely to change. Let's give Anthony a bit more power in the car, though it's not going to help it too much. It will hopefully keep El Sadat behind us, though. That's one of the main things, because El Sadat is probably pushing as well. Yeah. We maybe pitted a bit too early, to be fair. Probably could have let it go for another couple of laps just so I could really push the end. Though with the tyre deck, I'm not so sure actually. Actually, there's no point pushing the tyres because you can destroy them. Just push the car. Kind of sounds like when I say push the car, they need to get out, you know, physically do some pushing. Which, yeah, would maybe be just as quick for them. Oh, we're actually catching 15-14, I'm surprised. Who is this? Chu and Dembele. Oh, you gave up your space to Valdez? Why? Sabato got the fastest lap in 8th position. Interesting. They do have the fastest car though, so it's not too surprising. For this map, I mean, they don't have the strongest engine, but they do have the they have the strongest balance in the car, so a map like this is really perfect for them. 4 laps left. All right, go on then. You've got a bit more life in the tires, so go for it. And yeah, the graphics are better now. So closing what I closed helped, it looks like. I think, anyway. I haven't noticed it's been particularly laggy anyway. It gets a little bit laggy here, but it's not too bad. It slows down anyway, to be fair. Because these corners are quite tight. Yeah, the lag is much better, I think. Which is good. So, can we actually catch Chu? We maybe can if we really push in the last couple of laps. It's a bit of a gamble though, if I push the car any harder. I mean, it's a lot of a gamble if I push the car even harder. I think I need to go one more lap just trying to chase like this and then really push. Hey, Gomez got a personal best. Still probably one of the slowest cars, but, you know, personal best. Personal best is good. We are losing El Sadat, so yeah, I think Anthony's doing okay, but I need to push a little bit harder and hope that we don't blow up the car. We're going to let the lap finish before we do that, because even at this stage, especially on the tyres, it's a bit of a risk. Eh, no risk, no reward, I guess. Let's at least turn this last corner, and then we'll power the car through. I'm going to have to keep an eye on the fuel consumption though at that stage. Go, go, go! Yeah, El Sadat is also pushing hard. I probably need to actually attack. I don't have much of a choice, do I? So we're going to have to churn through these tyres, and I'm going to do the same with you. Hopefully we don't blow up the gearbox. 2 laps! We can... fuck. Well... Anthony's car has problems. But 2 laps. I believe in you. Please don't explode. What can possibly go wrong? What can possibly go wrong? I know. Oh, bugger. Both gearboxes are fucked. 2 laps! I believe. I believe. At least hold on to 16th. If you can get 15, then that's a huge bonus. We might get 15 actually, because 2 cars are pitted. No, we're not going to catch them. Even if we do catch Yai, he's just going to take the position back, to be fair. It may slow down Chu at least, and it did. Good. I know your parts are looking rough. It's the final lap. No, it's not. It's the final 2 laps. You can do it. Certainly not as talkative as I used to, but I'm still getting some things in Genshin bulked out. It's fine. To be honest, I don't really expect chat to chat, which is ironic, but I'm pretty good at talking to myself, so you don't have to worry too much about talking in chat. I'm happy with lurkers. I'm happy with yeah, people just hang around. It's not a huge deal. You don't need to apologize for not engaging. You know, it's just you being here is showing support. That's fine. Genshin's a game I've never played. I've seen Kobe play it now, and that's... No, don't lose 17th. No, don't do it. Anthony, what are you doing? You're pushing the car and still losing. Yeah, we have a really bad car. What was I saying? Yeah, Genshin. I've never played Genshin. I've only seen it played. So I don't know. I don't know exactly what the main idea behind Genshin is, and I don't know. The graphics are dying now. Why? Seems to be a gacha game for the most part, with some RPG elements. So that's all I've managed to pick up from watching it, to be fair. And that Kirby likes men more than women. That seems to be a thing too, based on his interaction with the game. Jesus, you gonna lose 18th as well, really? Okay, well fine. We're getting... I may as well stop pushing then, just so we at least survive the race, because yep, we're finishing in 18th and 19th this race. Yeah, a weeb, that's fine. A lot of people are weeps. I mean, I'm pretty sure you came from Lizabel's stream, so I'm not so surprised. I think it's safe to say that I'm not particularly weeb, but when I was in university, I did like some anime, but I've mostly only seen some of the big ones. Yeah, we lost the tires completely. That's why we struggled at the last hurdle here. I mean, though I do create an RPG in Japanese art style, so you know my emotes look weeby. Whoa! Why did it do 4? What the hell? So yeah, a lot of the emotes that I've created, they look like they belong in an anime, but they're not actually supposed to be anime. Why do you do 4? Why? I only want the 1. So let me just... I don't know why it keeps making 4 of them for some reason. I guess there's something that has got some kind of double click going on or something. I don't know, but whatever. So you know, my emotes look kind of weeby, but they're actually not. They're all from more of a Western style story, at least. Well, that ended up being a disaster of a race in the end, so that's good. I think a few people lost time though, so maybe we did pick up a spot. No, Rogers actually finished really high. Impressive. And Elsa got 2. Drive-through penalty, yeah. I was right. So we got 18th and 19th in that game, which is, you know, not what we want. Which drops us to 19th and 20th in the overall standings. We're only 2 races in though. So let's focus more on what we're doing with the car here. So our fan says you need a better driver than Andre Gomez. Shut up. And Bao Tang is really happy with the result. Amanda had a few good tussles in the middle. Okay, good. So let's try and do some things to improve the car a bit more. We need to get these brakes installed. So we're going to focus first on the brakes, after the car's repaired, of course. And I think we'll do one more race, and then we'll probably... Yeah, we'll see what time it is when the third race is done. But I think we're just going to do one more race for today. I wasn't sure how long it was going to take. What happened? Why did you get beaten up? Dodgy neck. Oh, she's been spending too much time with me. Because I have a dodgy neck as well. Okay, our expected result is always 10th, so, you know, no matter where we finish, the chairman is always going to be happy this season, so I'm good with that. We lost another million, of course. $1 million per race. It's a slightly expensive sport. No, this is the wrong one. That's what I wanted to look at. Firebird at the top is not surprising, and Garuda and Eastwood as well. Yeah, there's nothing surprising going on here. We're now 12 points behind Archer, so yeah, we've got a hell of an uphill climb ahead of us this season.